Tell you.
Let's talk about Tommy for a minute.
Sure.
He's obviously been on the record saying he never wanted a title.
Yeah.
He didn't think
Yeah,
he
and that's
needed
yeah.
it to get over.
Yep.
Um, and he only took the title because guys were leaving and
Yeah.
he needed to carry the flag of the ship.
Yep.
Uh, do you feel that he deserved the title anyways?
I think he deserved it. Yeah. Of course he deserved it. He deserved everything. I mean, he was ECW for a while, especially that last year. He held it together. Paul was so busy trying to keep the company afloat, trying to make deals happen, robbing Peter to pay Paul, trying. I mean, he was really losing his mind to try to make it work, And Paul, one thing about Paul, he may have lied and deceived some people, but his intentions were always of the best. It was always for the company. It was for, I there's no ill will towards Paul with what he was, because I know what he deep down inside what he was trying to do. But while he was busy doing that and haggling and flying, to the West Coast to try to iron out another TV deal after we lost TNN at the time, Dreamer carried that whole company on his back. Sometimes inside the ring, always outside the ring. He was ECW. He was writing and booking, and doing it all with a ripped piece of paper from a notebook. Sometimes, you know. If you guys think there were laptops and all this kind of stuff going around, I mean there were. I mean we had ECWWrestling.com and stuff, but that's not how Dreamer did it. We just things were piece of loose leaf paper and scribbles, and he ran that show. And I give Tommy all the credit in the world, man. He's got a lot of balls, a lot of guts, and he deserved that and more, and more.
Was there any legit heat between Taz and RVD?
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why, but I know that there was an incident, where RVD hit Taz, and it was one of those things. And this is urban legend. I wasn't there, and as Davey Boy says, I wasn't there. Didn't even do it. I don't know Davey Boy, God rest his soul, but I don't know what it caused it, but I guess RVD went up to Taz in a locker room somewhere, and he said, "Pick a hand." He puts out his hands like this, and Taz goes, "What do you mean, pick a hand?" And he told Rob, kept telling him, "Pick a hand." And the hand that Van Dam picked was the hand that he immediately came up and punched him right in the face. And apparently, Taz didn't retaliate or defend himself. Just sort of walked away. So yeah, I heard that. I don't know what it stems from to this day. I still don't know. And it's none of my business. Just kind of juicy gossip. But 11 years later, hey, we got 20 live viewers. We've broken the record, dude. It's like a 2.0. And just in TV, we're a ratings juggernaut. The basement is working. It's the scarf, dude. The fucking scarf.
Rockstar Scarf.
I'm telling you, dude.
How do you
Nothing
feel
but
about
money.
your role or lack thereof
Yeah.
on One Night Stand?
I didn't mind it.
Did you work a dark match on that show?
I did not. No,
Okay.
I did not. In the opening match, I went out and I interfered on Lance Storm's behalf. With the kendo stick, I hit Chris Jericho, and then Lance beat him. And then we got to do our just incredible pose, which to me, that was a typical night in ECW. I didn't care. See, I didn't care necessarily always about having to win a match, or to, it was, for me, it's like, look, we were standing tall doing our gimmick. At the end of it all, we're looking down, Jericho's laying down in a pile of heap. It made sense because we all started together, and Lance and him especially, because they were a tag team. Now this was Lance's last match, and it really kind of was Lance's last match. He had a couple, but he really kept true to that, on high profile especially. And what's funny is, and then we came back afterwards and did the that other run-in with the Sandman and Dreamer, Lance and I, where we pile drove them on barbed wire or something like that, and with the Dudleys and stuff. But and then there was a cat fight with Dawn and Francine. So it was okay. I had nothing. I got to do my thing with my guy, and at the end, like I said, we were sitting there doing our pose, looking like hot shit. While one of the top WWE baby faces is laying down on his back. So it was cool. I thought that I thought it was, in a way, it was good. Yeah.
Marto Bag wants to know, was WSX really as terrible backstage as it looked on TV?
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, And I felt like the reason it being, and I actually tried to take control. There was nobody that knew how to do anything. Shane Douglas and a couple others, Vampiro as well. You know, like I at one point took a headset from a producer or a stagehand or somebody that had one because nobody had any fucking idea what they were doing. And that's one thing that I always did when I was with Vince's TV, especially in the 90s, because not as many guys were doing it or knew about it or cared about production. You know, back then they used to tape superstars for 4 hours and show it in syndication, 1 hour, 2 hours. So it was long, long nights of, taping. Sometimes when the agents had gone after hour three, I would sit there alongside, at the same table sometimes with Vince, way down at the end, and one of the guys would leave the headset and I'd put it on just to kind of see, listen what was going, and they didn't care. They saw a young kid that was interested about the business. I wasn't hurting anybody, but just curiosity about what's being said. Vince calling for certain angles, and you say this, and tell the ref he's got 5 minutes, and just the way they orchestrate the show from backstage, very, very educational. And they didn't have anything like that for WSX. I was always curious about that aspect of the business. And they really didn't have anybody to do it. And I tried to, of course you always try, but they were television producers, reality show producers, you know, people that worked on, those dating shows and stuff like that. So, they just had no wrestling knowledge, not their fault. If somebody gave me a show to produce about, like a soap opera or something, I couldn't do it either. So it's hard to, I don't fault them. I just thought they should have been smart enough to hire some people that did. You know.
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen a fan do to meet you?
Oh God. Hey, yeah, this one was crazy. Um, I had two girls, overweight girls, mind you, fly all the way from Germany. Germany, they love me in Germany. They flew all the way from that area.
I wonder why.
Yeah, right. They flew from Germany to meet me, but I was a kid still then. It's during Aldo still. Um, they had flown from Germany, from Berlin to New York, LaGuardia, and I was at my dad's house, still living with my father at the time. Like I said, I was 20 years old, always on the road, so I live alone. I yeah, absolutely. I was at my dad's house, and the girls came knocking on the door to my dad's house. And I'm sitting there in my underwear playing Sonic the Hedgehog for Sega. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. And there's these two girls all the way from, like Berlin, Germany. So I mean, it was absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, that was a pretty crazy thing to do, especially to meet somebody. Let's see if we can get some chats coming up here. I know that Dean's got them on his computer. Okay. Do wrestlers get royalty checks from DVD sales, much like actors do on TV shows? Yeah, dude, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I just got a nice big fat one in July. I still get WWE royalty checks, and depending on what product you're on, but yeah, I'm on all the all the ECW releases. I get a piece of any past pay-per-views that I did with X Factor, for example, with my Aldo days. I'm in a couple of Royal Rumbles, so I'm on the anthology box set. Batista's I Walk Alone, I was his debut match on Raw, so I'm on that. Um, just stuff like that. I'm Randy Orton. I'm on a Randy Orton thing. I don't think he has a DVD, but I'm on something with him that I just remember seeing what I get paid for. And stuff like that. So yeah, I still do get royalty checks, and it helps out. There's a substantial amount of money. I get them every 90 days, and it does help out. All right, here's another question from Bastion Booger. On the subject of fans, being a fan who went to ECW shows religiously. Oh, the Golden Dome, rock on, dude. That was a great building. I loved it. Do you ever think that any wrestling fed will be able to recreate the magic of the interaction of fan and wrestler that ECW had? I certainly hope so. I would hate to say no because I'm an optimist sometimes to a fault, but I really don't think that something like that could be recreated. They've tried, people have tried, and Yeah, and I don't think they ever will. I don't think they ever will. All right, Julian. Let's see.
Did you already take anybody? They
Oh
want
yeah,
anyone
I'm
like through it, like through
yeah,
like ECW
yep.
stuff?
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
you're in.
yep.
You're
Oh.
right in then.
Who was around when Jeff Hardy got fired for the first time in 2003? Who was I around? I was around Jeff. You had to know something about that one to be answering asking that question. I actually I got fired around that time too. If you recall, that's when I left as well. Jeff and I were both together traveling in the same car when we were. I'm not gonna lie to you. We were in a hotel room doing drugs. Both of us out of our minds, and we missed the charter flight. Or we made Hunter and Stephanie and the rest of the guys that were chartering a flight out of Texas to go to a town, I think in Tennessee or Arkansas or something like that. And we told them to just after they Stephanie, Hunter, and all of the boys sat there for what seemed like hours, but it was only an hour. But still, that's a long time to make a whole crew of guys wait. And we just told them, forget it, just go on without us. Needless to say, we got pulled into Jim Ross's office. He was in charge of talent relations at the time, and we both got. Well, I got let go shortly after that. I got the phone call. At first, I had just gotten suspended. I think Jeff had gotten suspended. They offered him treatment, but then shortly after he left too. You know. So yeah, those were some dark days. That's when it really started to unravel for me. Things started to really go downhill. Um, I'll do this if you want, bro.
No, 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 I'm good.
Okay.
Who'd you travel with during your ECW days? Were there click like groups in ECW?
No, not really. I traveled with my wife. My wife Jill worked merchandise in ECW. She was one of the two or three people that worked merchandise. So she was employed. She would fly to the town with me, and we'd rent a car together, and sometimes when it was Tony DeVito, when he was there as one of the Baldies, Tony would ride with me. I would often ride with Lance as well, and Lance would, Joe was in the car with Lance, and it'd be me, Lance, sometimes me, Lance, Jerry, and Jerry Lynn. So yeah, my wife was always really, especially in ECW, always at my side. I mean, she's my wife and I love her and I enjoy her company. Also, that she worked for the company, so kind of all worked together. You
Would you open a wrestling school?
I don't. I never say never, but I don't think I would open a wrestling school per se, because they always seem to be, unless it's done right. Lance Storm is doing it right. There are places out there that are doing them right. I just don't think that where I live right now, geographically, it'd be a smart thing. The economy, absolutely not a smart thing. Defiant Pro Wrestling, Mikey Milano, who has also passed away, he ran a wrestling school, and Jason Knight, my former manager, ran Assault Championship Wrestling, and they had great facilities, a great building, good people working for them. I'd worked for them for a long time, but the fans or the boys, trying to learn to be wrestlers, they'd get the first couple $100, and then the money would just run dry, and they couldn't pay, and nobody, the kids weren't paying the school, and then Mike or Jason stopped paying the bills, and it's just very hard. You have to. I know, we try to give the guys deals in the business, especially new kids that want to train. But I had to have $3 grand right up front with the Hearts. They didn't want to hear it. And that's really the only way to run a business. And people forget it is a business, and we try to be friendly about it, to be fair, because you want to see them, and you want to bring them in, and it just doesn't work that way. I would never do it again. It just seems destined for money loss. I would rather, which I had done, take a handful of kids, have them, pay me X amount of dollars, and then take them up and down the road with me to Indies for the next year. Go into the ring an hour or two early and learn old school, because old school days there were no wrestling schools. You learned on the road. They're like, it's very hard to break into the business. You learn by going to shows. There was no classes. It was almost unheard of because of kayfabe and stuff like that. So that's how I would do it. I don't necessarily think I would rent a facility, and all that, because it just is money and money and money.